The void between dimensions was silent. Frank Castle, the cosmic ghost rider, drifted through the endless darkness, his flaming skull casting no light in a place where light had no meaning. He'd been here for how long? Time didn't work the same way when you existed outside reality. He'd killed Thanos, served Galactus, tried to kill baby Thanos and prevent the future he came from. Failed. Succeeded. Both. Neither. The timeline was a mess, and Frank Castle was a ghost from a future that might not even happen anymore. But he still existed. Still burned. Still hunted. Always more evil to kill, he muttered to himself, his voice echoing in the void. Never ends. Never will. Then, reality screamed. It wasn't sound. Wasn't sight. It was something deeper. A fundamental wrongness that tore through the dimensional fabric like a wound in existence itself. Frank's skull snapped toward the disturbance. His cosmic senses, gifts from Galactus that let him perceive reality on levels beyond human comprehension, detected something massive, something ancient, something in agony. What the hell? The void around him began to crack, not metaphorically, literally. Space-time itself was fracturing. Bleeding colors that shouldn't exist, screaming with a voice that sounded like billions of souls crying out in pain. Then it grabbed him. An invisible force, but not force, not yet. He didn't know what it was, latched onto his essence and pulled. Frank felt himself being dragged through dimensions, through realities, through the spaces between worlds. Not again. He'd been yanked across reality before, hated it every time. Let go. But the force didn't let go. It pulled harder, desperate, agonized, like a dying creature grabbing for salvation. Frank tried to resist, used the power cosmic to anchor himself to anything. But there was nothing to anchor to. The pull was too strong, too determined, too absolutely certain it needed him. He tumbled through a tunnel of impossible geometry, saw glimpses of other places, other times, a galaxy far away, ships in space, laser swords, robed figures wielding invisible power. And everywhere, a darkness, a corruption, an evil so old and so deep it had infected the very fabric of this reality. Oh, Frank realized as he was pulled toward it. Someone's been hurting you. Someone's been hurting you for a long time. The force pulling him pulsed. Agreement, desperation, a plea. Make them stop, make them pay, punish them. Frank Castle smiled behind his flaming skull. Now that's something I can do. He stopped resisting and let the force drag him home. The cosmic ghost rider crashed onto Coruscant with the force of a meteor. He didn't remember the landing. Just the impact, concrete shattering, metal bending, alarms blaring. When his awareness returned, he was standing in a crater of his own making, surrounded by debris and smoke. Where? He looked around. The hell am I? His cosmic senses immediately provided answers. City, massive city, planetary city, trillions of people living on top of each other, technology everywhere, ships flying through the sky, and suffering. So much suffering he could taste it. Frank climbed out of the crater, his flaming skull casting dancing shadows on the ruined buildings around him. His cosmic hellfire bike materialized beneath him, a vehicle built from the power cosmic and hellfire, capable of riding through space, time, or anything else he needed. All right. Someone called me here. Someone wanted justice. Let's see what. Halt! Frank turned. 20 soldiers in white armor were surrounding him, weapons raised. Not guns. Energy weapons of some kind. Blasters. Identify yourself. By order of the Galactic Empire, you are under arrest for... Frank's skull blazed brighter. Empire. Of course there's an empire. There's always an empire. The lead soldier, an officer by his pauldron markings, stepped forward. You will comply immediately, or what? Frank revved his cosmic bike. You'll shoot me? Kid, I've been shot by gods. What are you gonna do? Behind the soldiers, Frank's enhanced senses detected something that made his hellfire burn hotter. A group of civilians, bound, kneeling, prisoners. What's with them? Frank pointed at the civilians. The officer glanced back. Rebel insurgents. Scheduled for execution per imperial decree. Now, surrender or execution. Unarmed prisoners. Empire's orders. That's correct. The Emperor's justice is... Frank had heard enough. His skull erupted with hellfire, so intense the nearest soldier's armor began to melt. They stumbled back, trying to aim their weapons, trying to follow their training. Frank was already moving. He didn't even use weapons. Just his fists. Enhanced by the power cosmic, backed by the strength of a herald of Galactus, driven by the fury of the spirit of vengeance. The first soldier he hit went flying backward so hard he went through a building. The second soldier he grabbed by the helmet, lifted, and threw into 3 others. They went down like bowling pins. Open fire! Blaster bolts filled the air, red energy streaking toward Frank. He stood there and let them hit. The bolts struck his form and simply stopped, absorbed into the cosmic energy that comprised his being. Each hit fed him, made him stronger. That tickles, Frank said. He raised one hand. Hellfire chains erupted from his palm, supernatural weapons that had bound gods and demons. They lashed out like living things, wrapping around soldiers, burning through their armor. The soldiers screamed, not in pain from the flames, though those hurt, but from something worse. The chains touched their souls, made them feel every innocent person they'd killed following orders, every unarmed prisoner, every civilian casualty. It wasn't the penance stare. Not yet. Just a preview. Feel that? Frank's voice echoed with otherworldly resonance. That's guilt. That's what you've done. Every person who died because you followed orders. The chains released. The soldiers collapsed, traumatized but alive. Frank walked past them to the prisoners, burned through their restraints with a touch of hellfire. Go. Now. Before more arrive. The prisoners stared at him in terror and gratitude, then ran. Frank looked up at the massive city stretching in all directions, felt the corruption, the evil, the weight of tyranny pressing down on trillions of people. Emperor, huh? Frank's skull blazed. Let's meet this emperor. His cosmic senses reached out, searching, tasting the dark energy that infected this galaxy, following it to its source. There, a massive presence, old, powerful, steeped in evil so deep it had corrupted everything around it for decades. Found you. Frank's bike roared to life, and he launched into the Coruscant sky, heading straight for the Imperial Palace. Behind him, the freed prisoners watched him go. What was that? One asked. I don't know, another replied, but I think the Empire just met something worse than they are. The ride through Coruscant was educational. Frank saw everything as he flew toward the palace. The upper levels where the wealthy lived in luxury, the middle levels where workers barely survived, the lower levels where people lived in darkness and filth, forgotten by the empire above, and everywhere fear. People were afraid to speak, afraid to gather, afraid to exist. Just like New York, Frank muttered. Different planet, same evil, control through fear. Imperial fighters detected him, TIE fighters. His cosmic awareness identified. They moved to intercept, opening fire with laser cannons. Frank didn't dodge. Let the shots hit him. They did nothing. My turn. He pointed at the lead TIE fighter. A lance of power, cosmic pure energy that could crack planets shot from his finger. The TIE fighter simply ceased to exist, vaporized on the atomic level. The other TIE fighters broke off, broadcasting emergency signals. Yeah, run, Frank said. Tell your boss I'm coming. The Imperial Palace grew closer. Massive, imposing, a monument to power and control. Frank had seen buildings like this before. Different worlds, different tyrants, same architectural arrogance. He landed at the main entrance. Massive doors, ornate, designed to intimidate. Standing guard were soldiers in red armor, different from the stormtroopers. Elite troops. The Emperor's personal guard. Halt! You cannot. Frank drove his bike straight through them. The cosmic hellfire vehicle hit the royal guards like a freight train. Their armor designed to resist lightsabers and blaster fire meant nothing against a vehicle built from the power cosmic. They were scattered, broken, burning. The massive doors were next. Frank didn't slow down. His bike's cosmic energy punched through the reinforced entrance like it was paper. Inside, more guards, More soldiers, all rushing to stop the intruder. Frank rode through the palace corridors, leaving burning tire tracks on marble floors. Every soldier who tried to stop him burned. Every weapon fired at him was absorbed. Every barrier in his path was destroyed. "Where's the Emperor?" Frank's voice boomed through the palace. "Where's the head of this snake?" His cosmic senses guided him. Through corridors, up levels, past terrified bureaucrats and fleeing servants, toward the throne room at the palace's heart. More royal guards tried to stop him at the throne room entrance. These were better trained, coordinated. They attacked with force. Pikes, weapons designed to fight force users. Frank grabbed one pike mid-thrust, ripped it from the guard's hands, and drove it through another guard's chest. Used the corpse as a battering ram against 3 more. The remaining guards broke and ran. "Smart," Frank said. The throne room doors loomed before him. Massive, blast-proof, designed to withstand orbital bombardment. Frank punched them. The power cosmic flowed through his fist. The doors, 3 feet of reinforced durasteel, crumpled like aluminum foil. They flew inward, crashing across the throne room floor. Frank stepped through the smoke and debris, and there, on a throne at the far end of the room, sat Emperor Palpatine. Emperor Sheev Palpatine sat on his throne, yellow eyes gleaming in the dim light. He'd sensed the intruder approaching, felt the disturbance in the Force. Something powerful, something wrong, something that didn't belong in this reality. But he was the Emperor, Dark Lord of the Sith, Master of the Dark Side. Nothing in this galaxy could threaten him. "You dare enter my sanctum?" Palpatine's voice echoed through the chamber. "I am Emperor Palpatine, ruler of the Galactic Empire, the dark side incarnate." The figure that walked through the destroyed doors was unlike anything Palpatine had encountered. A skeleton, wreathed in flames, riding a vehicle that seemed to be made of fire and starlight, radiating power that made even Palpatine's considerable Force presence feel small. "I'm Frank Castle," the skeleton said, his voice resonating with otherworldly authority. "And I'm here to judge you." The skull blazed with cosmic hellfire. Palpatine felt something he hadn't felt in decades: concern. "You are not of this galaxy. I can sense it. You come from beyond the Force. What are you?" "I'm a lot of things. Spirit of Vengeance, Herald of Galactus, Cosmic Ghost Rider. But right now?" The skeleton's flames burned brighter. "I'm your judgment." Palpatine stood. "Judgment? By you? I have lived for over a century. I have destroyed the Jedi Order. I rule an entire galaxy. I am beyond judgment. Everyone's beyond judgment, until they're not." Palpatine raised both hands. Force lightning, pure dark side energy, refined through decades of mastery, erupted from his fingertips. Blue-white electricity filled the throne room. Enough power to kill a dozen Jedi. Enough to reduce a normal being to ash. Frank walked through it. The lightning hit his form and was absorbed, fed into the power cosmic, made him stronger. "Lightning?" Frank's tone was disappointed. "That's your big move? Kid, I've been hit by real gods. Thor, the Silver Surfer, cosmic entities that make your Force look like a party trick. Try harder." Palpatine's eyes widened. The lightning wasn't working. At all. He switched tactics. Used the Force to grab the Cosmic Ghost Rider. Telekinesis powerful enough to crush starships. Lifted Frank off the ground. Frank looked down at Palpatine. Unimpressed. "Force choke, right?" "Yeah, that won't work. I don't breathe anymore. Haven't for a long time." He broke free of the telekinetic grip through sheer power cosmic application. Dropped to the ground, cracking the marble floor. Palpatine tried everything. Force push, Force crush, Sith alchemy, dark side rituals he'd learned from ancient holocrons. Nothing worked. Frank kept walking forward, step by step, inevitable as death itself. "What are you?" Palpatine screamed, his composure finally breaking. "I told you. I'm your judgment." Frank's hand shot out, faster than Palpatine could dodge, and grabbed the Emperor's face. "No, no, I am eternal. I have contingencies, clones. I cannot be." Frank's skull blazed with hellfire, so intense it illuminated the entire throne room. Yeah, about those clones. I can sense them. Every backup body, every hidden facility, every contingency plan you've got scattered across this galaxy. His cosmic awareness showed him everything. Exegol, the clone vats, the Sith Eternal cult, every piece of Palpatine's resurrection scheme. And here's the thing about the power cosmic. It lets me do things reality says shouldn't be possible. Frank's eyes blazed brighter, like destroy all of them. Simultaneously, right now, the power cosmic erupted from Frank's form, a wave of energy that transcended space, that reached across the galaxy, that found every clone facility, every backup plan, every contingency, and burned them all. On Exegol, clone vats exploded. Sith cultists screamed as cosmic fire consumed them. Ancient machinery designed to transfer consciousness between bodies melted into slag. Across the galaxy, every hidden facility with Palpatine's name on it simply ceased to exist. Palpatine felt it through the Force, felt every backup die, every contingency destroyed, every path to resurrection cut off. No, this is impossible. You've destroyed everything. Not everything, Frank said. His grip on Palpatine's face tightened. Not yet. Wait, please. I can tell you about the ancient Sith, others worse than me, more powerful. Frank paused. Keep talking. Palpatine was desperate now, truly desperate. For the first time since his apprenticeship to Darth Plagueis, he felt genuine fear. There are Sith tombs, he gasped, on Korriban, on Moraband, ancient dark lords who could destroy planets with a thought. He reached into the Force, showing Frank visions. Darth Nihilus consuming entire worlds, vitiate draining planets to fuel his immortality. Exar Kun, Freeden Nad, Mark Aragnos, Ajunta Paul. Sith lords, stretching back thousands of years, each one steeped in darkness. They corrupted the Force itself, twisted it for millennia. Their evil predates the Republic. They are the true threat. Frank studied the visions, saw the timeline, saw how the Sith had been a cancer in this galaxy for thousands of years, spreading suffering, creating darkness, perpetuating cycles of evil. You're telling me there's more of you? Spread across time? Thousands of evil bastards just waiting to be punished? Yes, kill them. They're worse than me. I'm nothing compared to the ancient Sith, please. Frank considered this. Interesting. Didn't know I'd be getting a whole list, usually just one target at a time. Then let me go. Let me help you. I can guide you to them. I know their tombs, their secrets. Yeah, nice try. But you're not escaping judgment just because there's a line behind you. Then what? I'm judging all of you. Every Sith Lord, every era, every timeline. I'll burn through time itself if I have to. Palpatine's face went pale. That's impossible. You'd need to travel through time, across centuries. The Force doesn't. Frank's skull blazed. I have the power cosmic. Time is just another road to ride. Cosmic flames began to gather around Frank. Not hellfire, something more. The very fabric of reality bending to his will. No, you cannot. I am the Emperor. I rule this galaxy. I am. You're nothing, Frank said quietly. Just another dictator who hurt people for power. I've killed 1,000 like you. His grip tightened. Time to pay for what you've done. Frank activated the penance stare. It was the spirit of vengeance's ultimate weapon, a supernatural ability that forced the guilty to experience every bit of pain they'd ever inflicted. Every victim, every moment of suffering, all at once. Palpatine's Force-enhanced mind made it worse. Much worse. His consciousness was vast, capable of processing information on levels normal humans couldn't comprehend, which meant he could feel everything. Every Jedi murdered during Order 66. Thousands of them. Their confusion, their betrayal, their pain as soldiers they'd trusted turned on them. Every youngling killed in the temple. Children, innocents. Their terror as Vader's lightsaber fell. Every world he'd destroyed or oppressed. Alderaan. Billions of voices crying out, then silenced. Their last moments replayed in his mind. Every person tortured by the Inquisitorius. Every family torn apart by imperial troops. Every slave worked to death building his war machines. Decades of atrocities. Countless victims. All flooding into Palpatine's consciousness simultaneously. He screamed. It wasn't a sound a human throat should be able to make. It was agony given voice. The accumulated suffering of billions reflected back on their tormentor. Stop. Stop. I feel them. All of them. Their pain, their deaths. Make it stop. No, Frank said. You made them feel this. Now it's your turn. The penance stare intensified. Palpatine's physical body began to burn not from external flame, but from internal corruption being ignited. The dark side energy that sustained him turned inward, consuming him. I was eternal. I was immortal. You were evil. That's all you were. That's all you'll ever be remembered as. Hellfire chains erupted from Frank's free hand, wrapping around Palpatine's burning form. And now you're going to hell. The real one. Where I came from. Where monsters like you belong. No. No. Anything but. The chains tightened, began dragging Palpatine's soul toward damnation. But Frank had a better idea. Instead of sending Palpatine to hell, he simply erased him. The power cosmic plus penance stare plus hellfire combined into something beyond any individual power. A complete annihilation of existence. Body, soul, force, presence. Every echo Palpatine had left in the galaxy. Emperor Sheev Palpatine didn't just die. He was removed from reality. Every clone, destroyed. Every backup, burned. Every contingency, erased. Every Sith artifact with his touch, purged. The Force itself shuddered as a massive source of corruption simply ceased to exist. Frank released his grip. Nothing remained. Not even ash. Palpatine was simply gone. One down, Frank said. Apparently a few thousand to go. Frank stood in the throne room, cosmic flames still flickering around his form. His enhanced senses processed what he'd learned from Palpatine's visions. The Sith. An order of dark side users, stretching back millennia, each generation more twisted than the last, each era marked by suffering on galactic scales. This galaxy's been infected for thousands of years, Frank muttered. No wonder the Force called me. This is more than one mission. This is extermination. He pulled up the visions again, studied them with his cosmic awareness. The timeline spread before him like a map. Ancient Sith Empire. 5,000 years before this moment. Planets consumed. Civilizations destroyed. The Great Hyperspace War. Billions dead. The Jedi Civil War. Revan's fall. More billions dead. The Great Galactic War. The Sith Empire versus the Republic. Planets burning. Darth Bane. The Rule of Two. Millennia of Sith hiding. Growing stronger. Corrupting from the shadows. And finally, Palpatine. The culmination, the completion of a 1,000-year plan. That's a lot of evil, Frank observed. That's a lot of judgment to deliver. He could feel it through his cosmic senses. The dark side nexuses scattered across the galaxy. Korriban, Moraband, Exegol, Dromund Kaas, Ziost. Planets steeped in so much corruption they radiated darkness across space. And the tombs. Hundreds of them. Each one containing the essence of a dead Sith Lord. Spirits, holocrons, artifacts, evil preserved and waiting. Can't just kill the living ones, Frank realized. Got to burn the dead ones too, permanently. Or they'll just keep infecting people, keep the cycle going. His Hellfire bike materialized beside him, ready. But first, he needed to understand something. He reached into the Force, not using it. His power was different, but touching it, sensing it. The Force responded. Showed him what he needed to see. The Sith weren't just evil individuals. They were a corruption of the Force itself, a tumor in the galaxy's spiritual fabric. Every Sith Lord that existed fed that tumor, made it stronger. Spread the cancer. You need me to cut out the cancer, Frank said to the Force. All of it. Every cell. The Force pulsed. Agreement. Desperation. Gratitude. All right. But I'm doing this my way. Complete eradication. No half measures. No redemption for the unrepentant. They hurt people. They burn. Deal? The Force hesitated. The Jedi had always preached balance, light and dark existing in equilibrium. Wrong, Frank said, sensing the hesitation. Balance isn't letting evil exist for symmetry. Balance is cutting out the disease so the healthy parts can thrive. Trust me, I've been killing cancer my whole life. The Force considered. Then agreed. Good. Now show me where to start. Visions flooded Frank's mind. Every Sith tomb, every dark side nexus, every location where Sith corruption ran deep. And behind it all, the source, the birthplace of the Sith philosophy, where it had all begun. Korriban, later called Moraband, the tomb world. There, Frank decided. I start at the beginning, burn through the ancient ones, work my way forward through time, hit every era, every Sith Lord, every dark side user who chose corruption. He began to mount his bike, then paused. Wait, Palpatine had an apprentice. Vader, he's still alive. Frank's cosmic senses found him, not far, approaching the palace, filled with dark side corruption, but also something else. Conflict, pain, regret buried under layers of darkness. Interesting. He's different from the others, more complicated, Frank decided. Vader can wait. He's contained in this time period, but the ancient Sith, their threats across all of time. Their spirits still exist, still corrupt, still spread evil. He revved the cosmic bike. Vader gets to watch what happens to Sith Lords. Maybe he'll learn something. Maybe not. Either way, he's last on the list. Frank opened a portal. Not through space, through time. The power cosmic bent reality, creating a doorway to the past, to ancient Korriban, to where it had all started. Time to meet the ancient evil and show them what cosmic justice looks like. He rode through the portal, cosmic flames trailing behind him. Darth Vader burst into the throne room 3 minutes after Frank left. He'd sensed the disturbance through the Force, felt his master's terror, his pain, his death. Impossible. The Emperor was eternal, had contingencies, could not be killed. But the throne room told a different story. Destroyed doors, burned floors, scorch marks that looked like they'd been made by fire hotter than any flame Vader knew. And in the center, where the Emperor's throne stood, nothing. Not a body, not ash, just nothing. As if the Emperor had simply ceased to exist. No, Vader breathed. No, this is impossible. He reached out through the Force, searching for his master's presence, for any echo, any trace. Nothing. The Emperor's presence in the Force was simply gone, erased, as if Sheev Palpatine had never existed. What have you done? Vader spun toward the voice. A figure stood in the shadows, a skeleton wreathed in cosmic flames, standing beside a vehicle that defied physics. What are you? Name's Frank Castle, the cosmic Ghost Rider said, but you might know me better as the thing that just killed your Emperor. Vader ignited his lightsaber, red blade humming with deadly energy. You murdered my master. For this, you will save it. I know who you are. Anakin Skywalker chose power over love, killed younglings in the temple, slaughtered your way to the dark side. Vader froze. How do you know that name? I know everything about you, Vader. Every choice, every murder, every moment you decided evil was easier than good. Frank's skull blazed brighter. And yeah, you're on my list too. Vader attacked. He moved with Force-enhanced speed, covering the distance between them in a heartbeat. His lightsaber came down in a strike that had killed dozens of Jedi. Frank caught the blade with his bare hand. The lightsaber, a weapon that could cut through almost anything, touched Frank's skeletal fingers and stopped. Held, unable to harm him. What are you? I'm a herald of Galactus. I'm the spirit of vengeance. I'm Cosmic Ghost Rider. And I'm here to judge every Sith Lord in this galaxy's history. Frank shoved Vader backward. Not hard, just enough to create distance. You killed children. Kids who trusted you, who called you master. You led soldiers to murder them. I did what was necessary. To save Padme. To gain the power to what? Save one person by murdering dozens? That math doesn't work, Skywalker. Vader attacked again, fury powering his strikes. He used the Force to throw debris, to collapse walls, to create a maelstrom of destruction. Frank stood in the center of it all, untouched, unmoved. You done? Frank asked. He pointed at Vader. A lance of power, cosmic pure energy, shot from his finger and hit Vader in the chest. The Sith Lord flew backward, crashed through 3 walls, and embedded himself in the 4th. His armor sparked. His respirator stuttered. Pain unlike anything he'd felt since Mustafar racked his body. That's what real power looks like, Frank said, walking through the holes Vader had made. Not your Force, not your laser sword. Cosmic power, the kind that cracks planets. He stood over Vader, looking down at the broken Sith. You're different from Palpatine. I can sense it. You're evil. Yeah, murdered a lot of people. But there's something else. Regret. Buried. Deep. Hidden. But there. Vader tried to stand. I regret nothing. I chose this path. I chose power. Liar. You regret everything. You just won't admit it. Frank grabbed Vader by the throat, lifted him. For a moment, Vader thought the creature would kill him. Part of him wanted it. Then Frank threw him back down. You don't get to die yet. First, you get to watch what happens to Sith Lords. What happens to people who choose the dark side. What happens when judgment comes. Frank pulled out a device, a holographic projector he'd taken from the throne room. Activated it. Images appeared. The ancient Sith. Their tombs. Their temples. Their legacies of evil. I'm hunting them all. Every Sith Lord. Every era. Past, present, future. I'm burning them out of existence. Permanently. Vader stared at the images. That's impossible. They span millennia. You'd need to travel through time itself. Yeah, I can do that. Power Cosmic lets me ride anywhere, including when. A portal opened behind Frank, swirling cosmic energy showing glimpses of ancient Korriban. So here's what happens, Vader. I go back. I kill all your Sith ancestors. I erase the philosophy that created you. I burn every tomb, every teaching, every echo of the dark side. Frank mounted his bike. And when I'm done with them, I'm coming back. For you. You're last on the list. The final Sith. The one who gets to see everyone before him judged and found wanting. Why? Vader gasped. Why spare me? Why not kill me now? Frank's skull turned toward him. Because you get to live with what you've done. You get to sit here, in the ruins of your empire, knowing you served evil for nothing. That your master lied. That every person you killed was for a lie. He revved the cosmic bike. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll change. Maybe you'll just sit in the dark and rot. Don't care. But when I come back, you better have a good answer for why you deserve to keep existing. Because if you don't, the hellfire around Frank's skull intensified. I'll show you what I did to Palpatine, and I'll make it last. Frank rode through the portal. It closed behind him, leaving Vader alone in the destroyed throne room. For a long moment, Vader simply stood there, processing. His master was dead. His order was being hunted through time. His entire philosophy was being erased. And he was alone. What have I done? Vader whispered. The throne room had no answer. In the distance, alarms blared. The Empire was collapsing without its emperor. Chaos spreading. Everything Vader had fought for crumbling. And somewhere in the past, the cosmic Ghost Rider was burning through Sith history like wildfire through a forest. Vader looked at his hands. At the gloves that had choked Padme, that had murdered younglings, that had served evil for decades. What have I done? The question echoed in the empty throne room, and for the first time in years, Anakin Skywalker started to wake up. The portal spat Frank Castle out 5,000 years into the past. He landed on red sand under a blood-red sky. The air tasted wrong, thick with something that wasn't quite physical. Oppressive, malevolent, like breathing in concentrated hatred. Korriban, Frank said. his cosmic senses identifying the planet immediately. The Sith homeworld, where it all started. His Hellfire bike materialized beneath him, its cosmic flames casting strange shadows on the ancient landscape. All around him, massive structures rose from the desert tombs, pyramids, temples, each one radiating dark side energy so thick it was almost visible. "This whole planet is corrupted," Frank observed. 5,000 years of Sith burials, 5,000 years of evil soaking into the ground. He could sense them. The spirits, hundreds of ancient Sith lords, their essences preserved in the tombs, waiting, some sleeping, some aware, all hungry for power, for corruption, for the chance to influence the living. Not anymore. Frank revved his bike and rode toward the Valley of the Dark Lords. The valley was a massive canyon filled with tomb structures, each one dedicated to a different Sith Lord. Marka Ragnos, Tulak Hord, Ajunta Paul, Ludo Kresh, names that had terrorized the ancient galaxy. As Frank entered the valley, he felt the spirits stir. They sensed him, sensed his power, and they were hungry. Dark side phantoms began to manifest ghostly figures in ancient Sith robes, their faces twisted with malice and hunger. They had waited centuries for a living being powerful enough to possess, to use as a vessel for their return. They thought Frank was that vessel. "Yes," one spirit hissed. "Power, such power. We shall take it, possess it, return to the living world through—" Frank's skull blazed with hellfire. "You can try." The spirits attacked. Dozens of them. Ancient Sith lords who had conquered worlds, who had mastered dark side techniques lost to time. They descended on Frank like a swarm, trying to penetrate his mind, to take control, to possess him. They hit something they didn't understand. Frank Castle's soul was already occupied by the spirit of vengeance, by a being from a dimension these Sith couldn't even comprehend. A force dedicated to punishing evil that had been judging the guilty since before their ancestors were born. And that spirit didn't appreciate competition. The hellfire erupted outward, not just burning flesh, burning souls. The spirits of the ancient Sith lords screamed as cosmic flames consumed them. Not temporarily, not with the possibility of return, permanently. What is this fire?" one spirit shrieked. It burns, we are eternal. We cannot." "Yeah, you can," Frank said. "Everyone burns, you just burn hotter." He channeled the power cosmic through the hellfire. The combination was devastating. Physical and spiritual annihilation simultaneously. The Sith spirits were being erased from existence. No force ghosts, no lingering essences, no possibility of resurrection. Just oblivion. No. Our legacy, our teachings, are gone. In 30 seconds, Frank had permanently destroyed 50 ancient Sith lords. Spirits that had corrupted Force users for millennia simply ceased to exist. 50 down, Frank muttered. Few hundred to go. He rode deeper into the valley, his cosmic flames leaving purified ground in his wake. Every tomb he passed burned, every artifact dissolved. Every holocron containing Sith teachings was reduced to less than ash. The planet itself began to change. The oppressive atmosphere lightened. The blood-red sky started to clear. 5,000 years of accumulated dark-side corruption was being purged by cosmic hellfire. Frank reached the largest tomb, the one that radiated the most power, the most corruption, the most evil. "Big Bad must be in here," Frank said, dismounting his bike. "Let's say hello." He walked toward the tomb's entrance, massive doors carved with ancient Sith script, warnings about the power within, promises of knowledge for those brave enough to enter. Frank punched the doors off their hinges. Inside was darkness, not normal darkness, living darkness, the kind that ate light. And sitting on a throne carved from a single piece of obsidian was a figure in meditation. The figure's eyes opened, glowing yellow with dark side power. "I am Darth Bane," the figure said. "Destroyer of the old Sith, creator of the rule of two, the one who ensured the Sith would survive to conquer the galaxy." Frank's skull blazed. "Yeah, about that. Your rule of two just got your whole order killed. Nice job, genius. Darth Bane rose from his throne, his massive frame filling the tomb chamber. He was larger than life, over 6 feet of pure muscle, armor made from orbalisks covering most of his body. The orbalisks were creatures that fed on dark side energy, growing stronger as their host did. They made Bane nearly invulnerable. Nearly. You dare mock me? Bane's voice was deep, resonant with dark side power. I, who saw the Sith at their weakest and made them strong. I, who created the philosophy that allowed us to survive for 1,000 years. Philosophy? Frank laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. You created a pyramid scheme. 2 Sith at a time, master and apprentice. One betrays the other. Over and over. For 1,000 years. That's not philosophy. That's just dysfunction. Bane's eyes narrowed. The strong survive. The weak are culled. That is the way of the Sith. That is natural selection applied to Force users. Natural selection. Right. Frank started walking toward Bane. Let me tell you about natural selection. I'm what happens when natural selection goes cosmic. I'm what survives when everything else dies. And you? You're extinct. Bane attacked. Force lightning erupted from his hands, more powerful than Palpatine's, refined by centuries of practice and obsessive study. The blue-white energy filled the tomb chamber. Frank walked through it. The lightning was absorbed by his cosmic form, feeding his power rather than harming him. That all you got? Seriously, is lightning the only thing you Sith know? It's like you all went to the same boring evil school. Bane switched tactics. Used Sith sorcery, ancient techniques from before the Rule of Two. Tried to age Frank's body, to rot it from within, to turn his bones to dust. The sorcery hit the necroplasm that comprised Frank's form, and simply stopped. You can't age what's already dead. Can't rot what's held together by cosmic power. Nice try. But I don't exactly have organs anymore. Bane's orbalisks began to pulse, feeding him more dark side energy. He channeled it into a force crush telekinetic pressure designed to pulverize bones and rupture organs. Frank felt the pressure, felt his form compressing slightly. Okay, that one actually tickled, he admitted. Then he flexed. The power cosmic pushed outward, breaking Bane's telekinetic grip like it was tissue paper. My turn. Frank's hand shot out. A chain of hellfire and cosmic energy erupted from his palm, wrapping around Bane's chest. The orbalisks shrieked a sound that shouldn't have been possible for creatures without vocal cords. The cosmic hellfire was burning them, actually harming them despite their dark side protection. What are you? Bane struggled against the chain. The orbalisks should protect me from any attack. They feed on dark side energy. They're invulnerable. Yeah. Well, I'm not dark side. I'm not light side. I'm not even from this galaxy. Frank yanked the chain, pulling Bane forward. I'm cosmic. And cosmic doesn't care about your little force rules. He grabbed Bane's face with his free hand. Time to show you what you created. Time to show you every victim of the Sith philosophy. Every person who died because you thought 2 evil bastards at a time was a good idea. Bane's eyes widened. No, you cannot mean. Frank activated the penance stare. Darth Bane was forced to experience the consequences of his Rule of Two. Every Sith Lord who followed his philosophy. Every apprentice who murdered their master. Every master who abused their apprentice. Every innocent killed in the Sith's 1,000-year plan to destroy the Jedi. Plagueis murdering his master. Palpatine murdering Plagueis. Vader slaughtering younglings. The Clone Wars. The Jedi Purge. Alderaan's destruction. All of it. Thousands of years of suffering. Millions of deaths. All stemming from the philosophy Bane created. No. I created this to make the Sith stronger. To ensure our survival. To create 1,000 years of evil. Frank finished. Congratulations. Mission accomplished. Bane screamed. The orbalisks screamed with him. The dark side energy they fed on turned inward, consuming them. You were so focused on making the Sith strong, you never stopped to think about whether the Sith should exist at all. The Sith are necessary. Balance requires darkness. Light cannot exist without wrong. Balance isn't letting cancer exist for symmetry. Balance is cutting out the tumor so the healthy parts survive. The penance stare intensified. Bane's mind cracked under the weight of his philosophy's consequences. I see them all. All the deaths. All the suffering. My legacy is evil. Your legacy is evil. Nothing more. The hellfire consumed Bane completely. His body, his orbalisks, his spirit, even his influence on the timeline was being burned away by cosmic flames. Darth Bane, creator of the Rule of Two, was erased from existence. Frank stood in the empty tomb, felt the planet's dark side presence diminish even further. One era down, several more to go. He walked out of the tomb. His bike was waiting. Time to jump forward, to the next concentration of Sith evil, to the Old Republic era, to the Sith Empire, to the monsters who had consumed entire worlds. Frank emerged from the time portal above Dromund Kaas, the Sith Empire's capital world. Perpetually stormy, lightning constantly arcing across the sky. The dark side so thick in the atmosphere that normal beings could feel it pressing down on them. Cheerful place, Frank muttered. Below, he could see a massive city, imperial architecture, dark temples, and in the distance, the citadel home to the Sith Emperor. But Frank wasn't going there. Not yet. First, he needed to understand what he was dealing with. He reached out with his cosmic senses, tasting the timeline. The Great Galactic War. The Sith Empire versus the Republic. Millions dead. Dozens of worlds burning. Atrocities on scales that made Palpatine look like an amateur. These guys really went all in on the evil, Frank observed. He could sense Force users across the planet, hundreds of them. Sith lords, Sith apprentices, dark side cultists, all feeding off the planet's corruption, all contributing to it. And beyond them, in the Citadel, something massive, ancient, powerful, beyond anything Frank had encountered so far in this galaxy. The Sith Emperor, Valkorion, Vitiate, a being who had lived for over 1,000 years by consuming entire planets. World Eater, Frank recognized. Fought one before, Galactus. At least he had the decency to admit what he was. But first things first. The Sith Lords on this planet were committing atrocities right now. Frank could sense torture chambers, slave pits, experimental labs where dark side users tested their powers on living subjects. Can't let that continue. Frank descended on the city like a meteor of judgment. The Sith Academy on Dromund Kaas was where the Empire trained its dark side users. Young Force sensitives were brought here, broken, rebuilt as weapons of the dark side. Those who survived became Sith. Those who didn't became examples. It was efficient, brutal, evil. Frank landed in the middle of the Academy's main courtyard during a training exercise. 30 Sith acolytes were fighting each other. To the death, the survivors would be promoted, the dead would be forgotten. This was the Sith way. Frank's arrival interrupted the exercise. The acolytes stopped, staring at the flaming skeleton on a cosmic bike. Their instructors, Sith Lords in elaborate armor, moved forward. "Who dares interrupt this training?" the lead instructor demanded. "Identify yourself or..." Frank's skull blazed. "I'm Cosmic Ghost Rider. I'm here to shut down this school. This is a Sith Academy. You have no authority. Don't need authority. Just need power." Frank raised his hand. Hellfire chains erupted, wrapping around the Sith instructors. They screamed as the chains touched their dark side corrupted souls. The acolytes watched in shock as their seemingly invincible teachers were dragged toward the flaming skeleton. "Pay attention," Frank said to them. "This is what happens to Sith Lords. Eventually, someone stronger comes along, and you burn." He activated the penance stare on all the instructors simultaneously. They experienced every atrocity they'd committed, every student they'd broken, every innocent they'd killed, every dark side ritual they'd performed. Their minds shattered, their bodies burned, and in seconds, the Academy's entire teaching staff was reduced to ash. Frank turned to the acolytes. "You kids, you got a choice. Walk away from the Sith. Right now. Find something else to do with your lives. Or stay, and eventually someone like me comes for you too." Most of them ran. A few stayed, too corrupted or too stupid to leave. Your funeral, Frank said. He burned the academy to the ground. Every teaching hall, every library of dark side knowledge, every artifact used to corrupt students. The surviving acolytes who'd stayed died in the flames. One school down, Frank said. How many more on this planet? His senses detected dozens. Gonna be a long day. By the time Frank reached the Citadel, half of Droman Kos was burning. He destroyed every Sith academy, every dark side temple, every torture chamber, every slave pit. Thousands of Sith and their servants were dead. The planet's dark side presence was diminishing by the hour, and in the Citadel, the Sith Emperor waited. Frank rode his bike straight through the Citadel's main gates. Guards tried to stop him. They burned. Sith Lords tried to fight him. They died. Nothing stopped his advance. He reached the throne room, a massive chamber designed to make visitors feel small and insignificant. At its center, on a throne of black stone, sat the Sith Emperor. He looked human, young, almost handsome. But Frank's cosmic senses saw the truth. This being had lived for over 1,500 years, had consumed the life force of entire planets to sustain himself, had performed rituals so dark they'd traumatized the force itself. Cosmic Ghost Rider, the Emperor said. His voice was calm, cultured, utterly devoid of human emotion. I have been watching your progress. Impressive. You've killed more Sith in one day than the Jedi managed in centuries. Yeah. Well, I don't have their moral hang-ups, indeed. Which is why I have a proposition. The Emperor stood. Join me. Your power combined with mine. We could rule not just this galaxy, but others. I have long sought to expand beyond these stars. You could help me achieve that. Frank laughed. How many times you think I've heard that pitch? Join me. We'll rule together. Every villain says the same thing. Gets old. I am not every villain. I have lived for over a millennium. I have consumed worlds. I am immortal, eternal. I am your Darth Vitiate, also called Valkorion, also a few other names you picked up over the centuries. And yeah, I know what you are. A vampire, feeding on planets to stay alive. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. You know nothing of what I am. I know you ate the planet Nathema, consumed every living thing on it, 6 billion people, gone in a ritual that made you immortal. I know you've done it to other worlds. I know you're planning to do it to the entire galaxy. Knowledge, but not wisdom. You see the acts, but not the purpose. I seek ultimate power, transcendence, to become the Force itself. Yeah, Galactus wanted something similar. Spoiler alert, it didn't work out for him either. The Emperor's face remained calm, but Frank sensed the rage building beneath the surface. You dare compare me to another World Eater? Yeah, fought him, survived him, eventually worked for him. And you know what I learned? Beings who eat planets are all the same. You're all empty inside, consuming everything around you to fill a void that can't be filled. I am not empty. I am full of power beyond your comprehension. I am the dark side incarnate. The throne room exploded with dark side energy, Force lightning, Force storms, Sith alchemy. The Emperor unleashed everything. The combined dark side power of a being who had studied the Force for over a millennium. The attack would have killed entire armies, would have devastated cities, would have cracked planets. Frank walked through it. Is this the part where I'm supposed to be impressed? The Emperor's calm finally broke completely. What are you? I told you. Cosmic Ghost Rider. I've got the power cosmic from Galactus, spirit of vengeance from hell, and really bad anger management issues. Your Force is cute, but it's local to this galaxy. My power comes from outside. Frank raised his hand. Power cosmic erupted pure energy that transcended the Force, that operated on rules this galaxy didn't understand. The Emperor tried to drain it, tried to consume it like he consumed planets. The power cosmic burned him from the inside. You can't eat cosmic energy, Frank said. It's not life force, it's fundamental reality, and it doesn't appreciate being swallowed. The Emperor screamed. For the first time in over 1,000 years, Vitiate felt something he'd forgotten. Pain. Real pain. Not the suffering he inflicted on others, but genuine agony. Impossible. I have consumed worlds. I am eternal. I cannot. Everyone says that. Right before they die, Frank grabbed the Emperor's face. Time to show you every life you consumed. Every planet you ate. Every person whose life force you stole. Ready? No. Do not. I have lived too long, seen too much. The weight would... Frank activated the penance stare. Anathema. 6 billion souls. All dying simultaneously as their life force was ripped away to fuel a dark side ritual. Ziost. Billions more. Consumed. Countless other worlds across 15 centuries. Trillions of lives. All of them flooding into the Emperor's consciousness at once. The weight of that many souls, that much suffering, that many deaths, even the Emperor's vast mind couldn't handle it. His immortality turned against him. His expanded consciousness meant he could feel every single one. No, too many, too much. I feel them all. Their terror, their pain, their deaths. You feel all their deaths. That's what you took. That's what you owe. The Emperor's body began to burn. Not from external flame. From internal corruption igniting. 1,500 years of evil being consumed by its own weight. I was immortal. I was eternal. You were evil. That's all. And now you're ash. The Sith Emperor, one of the most powerful dark side users in galactic history, burned completely. His body, his numerous clone bodies scattered across the galaxy. His spirit, his presence in the Force, gone. Frank stood in the ruined throne room, feeling the planet's dark side presence shatter. Droman Kos would recover, eventually, but it would take centuries. 2 eras down, Frank said. Still got more to go. His cosmic senses detected another massive dark side presence. Different era, different threat. Darth Nihilus, the Lord of Hunger, a being who had become more concept than person, who consumed planets not for power, but because he couldn't stop. A world eater who can't control himself, Frank muttered. That's new. Let's see if he can digest cosmic hellfire. He opened another portal through time. The hunt continued. Frank emerged above a dead world. The planet had no name anymore. It had been consumed. Every living thing, every trace of the Force, every drop of life energy gone, drained away by the being Frank was hunting. Darth Nihilus. Frank could sense him, aboard a ship in orbit, not quite physical anymore, more like a wound in the Force wearing armor and a mask. Lord of Hunger, Frank said. Eats entire planets because he's addicted to Force energy. That's just sad. He flew toward the ship the Ravager, a massive vessel crewed by beings as dead as the planets Nihilus consumed. Force ghosts bound to decaying bodies, serving their master because they couldn't do anything else. Frank crashed through the Ravager's hull without slowing. The crew tried to stop him. Force techniques, ancient weapons, dark side rituals. Frank burned through them like they weren't there. He reached the bridge. And there, in a throne designed for a being that barely existed, sat Darth Nihilus. The Sith Lord was wrong. Not quite real. His presence in reality was more absence than presence. A void shaped like a person, wearing a mask to contain what little remained of his identity. When he spoke, his voice wasn't sound. It was more like reality itself, groaning. Hunger. Always hunger. You are food. Yeah, I get that a lot. But here's the thing. I'm not exactly edible. Nihilus attacked, not with weapons or Force lightning, with a technique that made him legendary. Force drain. Extreme Force drain. The ability to consume the life force of entire planets. He tried to drain Frank. The technique hit the power cosmic plus spirit of vengeance plus necroplasm combination that comprised Frank's being. Nihilus began to choke. What is this? That's cosmic energy, hellfire, and the essence of vengeance. How's it taste? Nihilus was trying to consume something that couldn't be consumed. Something that existed on a level beyond the Force. The drain reversed, started pulling Nihilus's essence instead. No, I consume. I am the hunger. You're an addict. A junkie. So addicted to force energy, you became more hunger than person. That's not power. That's disease. Frank grabbed Nihilus by the throat. Or where his throat should be. Hard to tell with a being that was mostly void. Time to show you every life you consumed. Ready? Nihilus tried to resist. Tried to drain Frank. Tried to escape into the force. Frank activated the penance stare. Qatar. A world of Miraluka. Billions of force-sensitive beings. All consumed in moments. Other worlds. Dozens of them. Trillions of lives drained to feed an insatiable hunger. Every soul screaming as their essence was ripped away. Nihilus experienced them all. Felt their pain. Their terror. Their deaths. But more than that, he felt his own emptiness. The void at his core that could never be filled. The hunger that would never stop. The curse of being more consumption than being. I see. I am. Nothing. Just hunger. Just void. I have consumed worlds and remained empty. Yeah, that's what addiction is. You destroy everything around you and get nothing from it, just more hunger. Nihilus's form began to collapse, not burning like the others, just ceasing. The void that comprised him was closing, the hunger consuming itself. I want to stop. Please, let me stop. Frank almost felt pity. Almost. You should have stopped before you ate the first world. Before you let the hunger control you. But you chose consumption. Over and over. For years. Please, end it. End the hunger. That's the first smart thing you've said. Frank channeled cosmic hellfire through Nihilus's void. The emptiness that defined the Sith Lord was filled not with life, but with judgment. With the weight of what he'd done. With consequence. Darth Nihilus, the Lord of Hunger, finally stopped being hungry. He simply ceased to exist. Frank stood on the empty bridge of the Ravager. The crew had died with their master Force ghosts finally released from their torment. 3 down, Frank said. How many more? His cosmic senses showed him the timeline. Dozens more Sith Lords. Exar Kun, Freeden Nad, Marka Ragnos in his prime. Ancient evils stretching back thousands of years. Gonna take a while to burn through all of them. Then he felt something unexpected. A presence approaching through the Force. Not dark side. Not exactly light side either. Someone powerful. Someone complicated. Someone who wanted to talk. The figure materialized on the bridge through a Force technique Frank didn't recognize. A man in robes that mixed Jedi and Sith aesthetics. Wearing a mask that hid his face. But Frank's cosmic senses saw through it. Revan. The prodigal knight. Jedi turned Sith, turned Jedi again. A legend who had walked both sides of the Force and somehow remained sane. Cosmic Ghost Rider, Revan said. I've been tracking your progress through the Force. 3 Sith Lords permanently destroyed. Countless lesser Sith killed. You're doing what the Jedi Council never had the courage to do. Yeah, well, I don't have their moral hang-ups about killing evil. No, you don't. Revan studied Frank. I was Sith once, Darth Revan. I fell to the dark side, conquered worlds, killed thousands. Will you judge me too? Frank's skull blazed as he examined Revan. Looked past the armor, past the Force presence, into the man's soul. You fell, but you climbed back out. Spent years trying to undo what you did. Fought against the Sith Empire. Tried to make things right. I did terrible things as Darth Revan. Yeah. And you've been trying to atone ever since. That's the difference. Palpatine had 40 years to change. Didn't. Bane built an empire of evil. Vitiate 8 planets for fun. They chose evil. You fell into it and fought your way out. Revan relaxed slightly. So you're not here to kill me. Didn't say that. Just said you're different. Frank's eyes burned brighter. Whether you live or die depends on what you do next. You here to stop me? No, I'm here to warn you. About what you're doing. Killing Sith Lords throughout history. You're creating temporal paradoxes. Changing the timeline. The galaxy as you know it might cease to exist. Frank shrugged. Don't care. Galaxy's better without Sith Lords. But the people who exist because of those Sith Lords, they'll cease to exist too. Entire civilizations, trillions of beings whose existence depended on events the Sith influenced. The Sith influenced events by murdering people. Those civilizations would exist anyway, probably better off without the Sith screwing everything up. You don't know that. The Force is balance, light and dark. You can't just eliminate. Stop. Frank's voice was hard. I've heard the balance requires darkness speech before. It's bullshit. Balance isn't letting evil exist for symmetry. Balance is cutting out the cancer so the healthy parts can grow. But, no buts. The Force called me here, dragged me across dimensions, asked me to punish the Sith. So that's what I'm doing. If it creates paradoxes, if it changes the timeline, if it makes some philosopher's head explode, don't care. Revan was quiet for a moment. You're not going to stop. Nope. Even if I tell you there's one more. The worst. The true source of the Sith corruption. Frank's attention focused. Keep talking. The Sith didn't start with Ajunta Paul and the Exiles. They started before that, with ancient dark side users who discovered something. A technique, a ritual, a way to corrupt the Force itself. Where? Exegol. The hidden Sith world. Where the dark side is strongest. Where the Sith eternal cult preserves the knowledge of every Sith Lord. Where the source of the corruption remains. Frank's cosmic senses reached out, searching. Found it. A planet hidden in hyperspace anomalies, steeped in dark side energy so old and so deep it predated recorded history. The root of the cancer, Frank said. Yes. If you want to truly end the Sith, you need to go there. To Exegol. To face what's waiting. What is waiting? Everything. Every Sith Lord's knowledge. Every dark side ritual. Every technique. All preserved in one place. Guarded by the Sith eternal cultists who have waited for millennia for the Sith to rise again. Sounds like a target-rich environment. It's suicide. Even for you. The dark side is so concentrated there it could corrupt reality itself. Frank revved his bike. I've been to hell. Actual hell. This is just hell's cheap knockoff. You're truly going to do this. Alone. I work better alone. Revan stepped aside. Then good luck, Ghost Rider. You're going to need it. Luck's for people without the power cosmic. Frank opened a portal to Exegol. Through it, he could see red skies, lightning storms, and massive Sith temples built on top of temples built on top of temples. Thousands of years of evil concentrated in one location. Perfect, Frank said. He rode through the portal, leaving Revan alone on the Ravager. The prodigal knight watched the portal close, then spoke to the empty bridge. May the Force be with you. You're going to face the collective darkness of 10,000 years. Even cosmic power might not be enough. But Frank was already gone. Already riding toward the final confrontation, toward Exegol, toward the source of the Sith, toward Judgment Day for the darkest evil the galaxy had ever known. The portal spat Frank Castle into darkness absolute, not metaphorical darkness, not the absence of light. This was darkness as a physical presence, a weight pressing down on reality itself, so thick and ancient it predated the stars around it. Exegol. Frank's cosmic senses struggled to process what he was seeing. The planet existed in a wound in space, a region where hyperspace anomalies made navigation nearly impossible. Hidden, forgotten, festering. This is it, Frank said, his flaming skull casting the only light in the perpetual storm above. The root of the cancer, where it all began. Lightning split the red-black sky, illuminating the landscape below. And what a landscape it was. Temples. Thousands of them. Built on top of temples, built on top of temples. Layer after layer of Sith architecture stretching back tens of thousands of years. Each generation had added to the previous, creating a mountain of dark side corruption that pierced the clouds. And at the center, rising above everything else, the Citadel. A structure so massive it made the Imperial Palace look like a garden shed. Its spires reached toward the lightning storms like clawed fingers grasping for heaven. Home of the Sith Eternal, Frank observed. The cultists who preserved all the Sith knowledge, every teaching, every technique, every bit of evil across millennia. His hellfire bike materialized beneath him, cosmic flames struggling against the oppressive dark side energy. Even the power cosmic felt the weight of this place. Good means burning it will actually mean something. Frank descended toward the planet's surface. The moment he crossed into Exegol's atmosphere, the attacks began. Sith lightning erupted from 100 different temples, coordinated strikes from cultists who had sensed his approach. Red and purple energy arced through the storm, converging on his position. Frank didn't even slow down. The lightning hit his cosmic form and was absorbed, adding to his power rather than diminishing it. "Still with the lightning," he muttered. 10,000 years, and you never learned anything new?" He landed in the temple district, a maze of ancient structures filled with robed figures, the Sith Eternal. Thousands of them. Cultists who had dedicated their lives to preserving the Sith legacy. They surrounded him immediately, emerging from every doorway, every shadow. Some wore the robes of acolytes. Others bore the armor of Sith warriors from eras long past. A few radiated power that marked them as genuine dark side masters. "Intruder!" one of the masters screamed. "The eternal flame has come to challenge us. Destroy him." Frank revved his cosmic bike. "Yeah, about that. I'm not here to challenge you. I'm here to end you." He rode into the crowd. The massacre was efficient, clinical. Frank had killed armies before, had burned through worlds. These cultists, for all their dark side training, were nothing compared to what he'd faced. Hellfire chains erupted from his hands, wrapping around groups of cultists, burning through their flesh and their souls simultaneously. The power cosmic lanced out in beams that vaporized everything they touched. His bike carved paths of cosmic flame through the enemy ranks. The dark side masters tried to fight back. They hurled Sith sorcery at him, techniques preserved from ancient eras, spells that could shatter minds and corrupt flesh. Frank walked through it all. "You've been hiding here for thousands of years," Frank said, grabbing one master by the throat. "Preserving evil, waiting for your moment. Well, congratulations. Your moment arrived, and it's me." He activated the penance stare. The master screamed as he experienced every victim of the knowledge he'd preserved. Every person killed by the techniques he'd taught. Every atrocity committed because he'd kept the Sith teachings alive. Then he burned. Frank moved through the temple district like a force of nature. Building by building, street by street. Every cultist he found burned. Every artifact he discovered was destroyed. Every holocron containing Sith knowledge was reduced to less than ash. "A library of evil," Frank said, standing before the largest repository of Sith teachings in the galaxy. 10,000 years of suffering, all written down for future generations to learn from. He raised his hand. "Good thing I always wanted to burn a library." Cosmic hellfire erupted. The repository containing the collected wisdom of every Sith Lord who had ever lived burned. Holocrons exploded. Scrolls disintegrated. Knowledge that had survived wars, purges, and the fall of empires was erased in moments. The screaming of the cultists intensified. This wasn't just their lives being taken. This was their purpose, their reason for existence. Everything they'd preserved was being destroyed. "No," a high priest wailed. "The sacred texts, the eternal knowledge, you cannot." "Already did." Frank pointed at him. "You're next." The high priest tried to run. Didn't make it 3 steps. By the time Frank reached the citadel at Exegol's center, he had killed over 10,000 Sith Eternal cultists and destroyed repositories of dark side knowledge that had existed since before the Republic was founded. And he wasn't done. "The source is in there," Frank said, looking up at the massive structure. "I can feel it. Every Sith Lord who ever existed, their spirits, their essences, all concentrated in one place." He walked toward the citadel's entrance. Time to meet the collective. The interior of the citadel was a cathedral to darkness. Massive pillars carved with the faces of ancient Sith Lords rose hundreds of feet toward a ceiling lost in shadow. Between them, floating in alcoves of dark side energy, were thousands of artifacts, lightsabers, holocrons, masks, and objects Frank couldn't identify. Each one pulsed with malevolent power, and watching him from every surface were ghosts, Sith spirits, hundreds of them, thousands, the preserved essences of every Dark Lord who had ever walked this galaxy. They clung to the walls, floated in the air, gathered in clusters around their most prized possessions, all of them staring at Frank. "So you're the one," a voice echoed through the chamber. Not one voice, thousands, speaking in unison. "The outsider, the cosmic flame, the one who has been burning through our history. That's me." Frank's skull blazed brighter. "And you're the collective evil of 10,000 years. Nice to put faces to the corruption." The spirits began to move, swirling, converging, merging into something larger. "We are not merely spirits," the voice continued. "We are the Sith Eternal, the collected consciousness of every Dark Lord, every master, every apprentice who achieved true power. We are the dark side given form." The merging accelerated. Thousands of spirits combining into a single entity, a massive figure of pure dark side energy. It towered above Frank, its form constantly shifting as different Sith Lords momentarily dominated the collective. Frank saw them all. Ajunta Pall, the first Dark Lord. Marka Ragnos, who had ruled for a century. Naga Sado, Frieden Nad. Exar Kun, Darth Revan's dark aspect. Darth Malak. Darth Treya, Darth Sion, Darth Nihilus rebuilt from the fragments Frank had left. Darth Bane, Darth Plagueis. Even echoes of Palpatine, somehow preserved despite Frank's destruction of him. All of them, united, eternal. "We cannot be destroyed," the Sith Eternal proclaimed. "We are the darkness itself. We have survived the fall of empires, the death of stars, the end of civilizations. We are forever." Frank tilted his skull, considering the massive entity. "Forever, huh? That's a long time." He stepped forward. "Good thing I've got cosmic hellfire. Burns for eternity." The Sith Eternal attacked. Not with lightning this time. With everything. 10,000 years of accumulated Sith knowledge deployed simultaneously. Force storms erupted around Frank, miniature hurricanes of dark-side energy that could tear apart starships. Reality itself began to warp as the Sith Eternal bent space-time to their will. The floor became the ceiling. Gravity reversed. Time stuttered and skipped. Ancient Sith alchemy transformed the air into poison, the ground into quickite, the darkness into a physical weapon. The spirits of 100 dead Sith Lords tried to possess Frank simultaneously, battering against his consciousness like waves against a cliff. And through it all, the Sith Eternal's raw power pressed down on him, the combined might of every dark side user who had ever achieved mastery, all focused on a single target. Frank felt it, actually felt it this time. This was more than Palpatine, more than Vitiate, more than any individual Sith Lord. This was the collected evil of a galaxy, spanning millennia, and it was trying very, very hard to kill him. "Not bad," Frank admitted, his cosmic form straining against the assault. "First time in this galaxy something actually made me work." He dug deep, found the core of his power, the power cosmic that Galactus had given him, the spirit of vengeance that had bound itself to his soul, the hellfire that burned hotter than suns. And he pushed back. The power cosmic erupted from his form not as a weapon, but as a statement. Reality rewrote itself around him. The space-time distortions collapsed, the gravity normalized, the alchemy failed. "The Force is ours," the Sith Eternal screamed. "This galaxy is ours, you cannot." "Your Force," Frank interrupted, "is local. It exists in this galaxy, maybe a few others nearby. But the power cosmic? That's universal. That's fundamental. That's the stuff reality is made of." He raised both hands, and it doesn't appreciate competition. Cosmic energy lanced out, piercing the Sith Eternal's collective form. The entity shrieked, thousands of voices, crying out as something they'd never encountered before tore through their essence. "Impossible. We are eternal. We are. You're a tumor. A cancer that's been growing in this galaxy for 10,000 years. And I'm the surgeon." Frank advanced on the entity, cosmic flames trailing from his form. "You were offered godhood by Thanos, by Galactus, by cosmic entities that make your entire Sith philosophy look like children playing pretend. And you know what I told them? He grabbed the Sith Eternal's collective essence. No, because power isn't the point. Justice is. And you've got a lot of justice coming. The Sith Eternal tried to break free, tried to scatter back into individual spirits, tried to flee into the dark side nexus that had sustained them for millennia. Frank's grip tightened. No escape. No more hiding. No more waiting in the shadows for your moment. Your moment is now, and I'm what showed up. He activated the penance stare, not on one Sith Lord, on all of them. Simultaneously, the penance stare was the spirit of vengeance's ultimate weapon. It forced the guilty to experience every bit of pain they had ever inflicted. Every victim, every moment of suffering, all at once. Now Frank activated it on the collected consciousness of 10,000 years of Sith Lords. The result was beyond description. Every soul the Sith had consumed, every planet they had destroyed, every war they had started, every child they had corrupted, every innocent they had murdered, every civilization they had ended. Trillions of victims across thousands of years, all of them flooding into the Sith Eternal's collective consciousness at once. The screaming began. Not a scream, the scream. Every Sith Lord who had ever existed crying out simultaneously as they were forced to feel what they had inflicted on others. Naga Sado felt the billions who died in the great hyperspace war, every soldier, every civilian, every child caught in the crossfire of his ambition. Exar Kun experienced the destruction of the Massassi people, an entire species enslaved and sacrificed for his power. Darth Nihilus felt every life on every planet he had consumed, billions upon billions of souls, their final moments of terror and confusion as their essence was ripped away to feed his endless hunger. Vitiate experienced his own ritual on Nathema, magnified 1,000-fold, 6 billion souls, and then every other planet he had drained across 15 centuries. Palpatine, what remained of his echo, felt Alderaan again, and again, and again. 2 billion people in a single moment of annihilation, replayed endlessly. And those were just the major atrocities. Behind them came the smaller evils, the personal cruelties, the individual murders, the apprentices betrayed, the innocents tortured, the families destroyed. All of it, every single sin. No! The Sith Eternal shrieked, their collective form beginning to fracture. Too much. We cannot the pain all of them. They're all screaming. Yeah, Frank said quietly. They are. And now you get to hear it. Every victim you ever created, every soul you ever destroyed, all screaming at once. The collective began to shatter. Individual Sith spirits tried to separate to flee the overwhelming weight of their combined sins. They tore themselves apart trying to escape the penance stare's judgment. But there was nowhere to go. Frank's hellfire was everywhere, filling the Citadel, spreading across Exegol, burning through the dark side nexus that had sustained these spirits for millennia. No escape, Frank repeated. No second chances, no more. Ajunta Paul, the first Dark Lord, was the first to burn completely. His spirit, already weakened by centuries of regret, couldn't withstand the full weight of what his philosophy had created. He experienced every death the Sith had ever caused, all stemming from his original choice to embrace the dark side. I'm sorry, he whispered as he was erased from existence. I didn't know it would lead to this. Then he was gone. Permanently. No Force ghost, no lingering essence, nothing. The others followed. Marka Ragnos, Ludo Kresh, Freedon Nad, Exar Kun, Ulik Keldroma's dark aspect, Darth Malak, Darth Treya, Darth Sion, the reconstituted essence of Darth Nihilus, Darth Bane's echo, Darth Plagueis, the fragments of Palpatine, one by one, then dozens at a time, then hundreds. The Sith Eternal was being unmade. 10,000 years of accumulated evil burning away under the weight of its own sins. We were supposed to be eternal. What remained of the collective screamed. We were supposed to rule forever. The dark side. The dark side is just power, Frank said. Power doesn't make you immortal, doesn't make you right, doesn't make you anything except powerful. And eventually something more powerful comes along. He intensified the penance stare. Today, That's me. The last of the Sith Eternal burned. Frank stood alone in the ruined citadel, surrounded by the ash of 10,000 years of evil. Around him, Exegol was dying, the dark side nexus that had sustained the planet collapsing without the Sith to feed it. But he wasn't finished. The planet itself is corrupted, he said. Every inch of it. Can't leave that standing. He reached deep into his cosmic power, deeper than he'd ever gone before, found the connection between the power cosmic and the fundamental forces of reality. And he channeled it all into Exegol. Hellfire erupted across the entire planet. Not just the surface, the core, the mantle. Every layer of rock and metal that had absorbed dark side energy for millennia. The temples burned. The citadel collapsed. The very ground cracked and melted. And in moments that felt like hours, Exegol, the hidden world, the nexus of darkness, the source of the Sith, was reduced to slag and ash. Frank floated in space above the burning remains, watching the last traces of 10,000 years of evil disintegrate. Done, he said. The Sith Eternal is gone. The source is destroyed. Every spirit, every teaching, every artifact burned. He felt the force around him shudder. Not in pain this time, in relief. The tumor that had been growing in it for millennia was finally excised. Almost done. He corrected himself. Still got one more to deal with. He opened a portal back to the Imperial era. Time to finish what he'd started with Vader. Vader had been waiting, not in the ruined throne room that had been overrun by panicked Imperials trying to figure out what had happened to their Emperor. He'd retreated to his personal meditation chamber aboard the Executor, the superstar destroyer that served as his mobile fortress. There, floating in his back-to-filled pod, he had reached out through the Force, searched for the cosmic being who had killed his master, watched through Force visions as the Sith were hunted across time. He had felt Bane's death, Vitiate's annihilation, Nihilus's implosion, and he had felt Exegol burn. Every Sith spirit, every collected teaching, every trace of the order he had served gone. Now the Force was different, lighter, as if a weight that had been pressing down on it for millennia had finally been lifted. And Vader was alone, the last Sith, the only one remaining, the final piece of a legacy that had spanned 10,000 years. When the portal opened in his chamber, Vader was ready. The cosmic Ghost Rider emerged from the cosmic rift, flames trailing behind him. His skull blazed with hellfire as it had before, but there was something different about him now. Weariness, perhaps, or satisfaction. Vader, Frank's voice echoed in the chamber. Or should I call you Anakin? That name no longer has meaning for me, doesn't it? I just burned through 10,000 years of Sith Lords. Saw every one of them fall. And you know what they all had in common? They all forgot who they were before. Before the darkness, before the corruption, before they chose evil. Vader's respirator hissed in the silence. You've killed the Emperor, destroyed the Sith legacy. But I remain. Yeah, I noticed. Frank stepped closer. Saved you for last. The final Sith. The one who gets to see everyone before him judged and found wanting. Then judge me. Vader's voice was steady. I have felt it through the Force. Every Sith Lord you killed. Their evil, their suffering, their final moments as they experienced the weight of their sins. He stepped forward, mechanical limbs moving with deliberate purpose. And I am one of them. I killed children, destroyed worlds, served evil for decades. I deserve what they received. Frank's skull tilted. You asking for death, I'm asking for justice. For my victims, for what I've done. Vader's helmet turned toward Frank. I'm ready. I have been ready since you destroyed my master. Since I felt the Force begin to heal. Since I realized that everything I served, everything I believed in, was a lie. Finally figured it out, huh? I felt them die. All of them, through the Force. And in their final moments, I saw what they truly were, what I truly am. Monsters, all of us. Choosing power over everything else. Hurting everyone who ever trusted us. Vader's hands clenched. Padme trusted me. Obi-Wan trusted me. The younglings trusted me. And I betrayed them all. For power, for lies, for a master who was using me from the beginning. Lot of Sith Lords begged at the end, Frank said. Tried to bargain, tried to make deals. You're not begging. No, I'm not. Vader removed his helmet. Underneath, Anakin Skywalker's scarred face looked out pale, damaged, barely human. But his eyes were clear, focused, present in a way they hadn't been in decades. I deserve to die. I've known that since Mustafar. I just kept running, kept hiding in the darkness, kept telling myself the lies that made the pain bearable. He met Frank's blazing eyes. No more lies, no more running. Judge me, I'm ready. Frank studied the scarred face before him. He'd looked into the souls of thousands of Sith Lords over the past, however long it had been. Time got strange when you were jumping through it. Every one of them had been corrupt to the core. Evil not because they'd fallen into it, but because they'd embraced it, chosen it, reveled in it. Anakin Skywalker was different. Frank could see it. The corruption was there. Decades of dark side energy had left marks that wouldn't fade. But underneath it, buried deep, was something the other Sith hadn't possessed. Regret. Real regret. Not fear of punishment or the grave. Not desperation to escape justice. Genuine remorse for what he'd done. The penance stare shows you your sins, Frank said. Every victim, every moment of pain you caused, all at once. You sure you want this? I'm sure. Anakin's voice was steady despite the damage to his lungs. I must face what I've done. All of it. I've been hiding from it for too long. Most people don't survive the stare. Not intact. And you've got a lot to answer for. I know. Frank reached out and grabbed Anakin's face. Your funeral. He activated the penance stare. Anakin felt everything. The younglings came first. Dozens of them. Children who had looked up to him, who had called him Master Skywalker with trust in their voices. He felt their confusion when he ignited his lightsaber, their terror as they realized what was happening, their pain as the blade fell. Every single one. Then came the Jedi Temple. Not just the younglings, but all of them. Knights who had trained beside him, masters who had guided him, Padawans who had admired him. All dying at the hands of the clones following an order Anakin had helped execute. Padme was next. Not her death that came later, but the moment on Mustafar. The look in her eyes as his force choke tightened around her throat. Her desperate love turning to horror as she realized the man she'd married was gone. The last words she ever spoke to him. Anakin, you're breaking my heart. He felt it. Felt her heart breaking. Felt the babies inside her, sensing their father's darkness. Then came the decades of Vader, every rebel he'd tortured for information, every officer he'd force-choked for failure, every planet he'd terrorized into submission, every innocent caught in the crossfire of his hunt for the remaining Jedi. Leia, on the Death Star, his own daughter, though he hadn't known it, strapped to an interrogation droid while he watched. Luke on Bespin, his own son, losing his hand to his father's lightsaber. Obi-Wan, on the Death Star, his oldest friend, his brother dying by his blade while Vader felt nothing but hollow victory. All of it flooded into Anakin's consciousness. Not memories he could observe from a distance. Direct experience. He was each victim in their final moments. Felt their terror, their betrayal, their pain. And he screamed. The sound tore through the meditation chamber, a howl of anguish that had been building for decades. His suit's respirator sparked and failed. His mechanical limbs seized. His damaged heart stuttered. But he didn't try to escape, didn't try to break free of Frank's grip, didn't beg for mercy. He stayed, endured. Let every victim's pain wash through him, because he believed he deserved it. When the stare finally ended, Anakin collapsed to his knees. His mask had fallen. Tears, the first real tears he'd shed in decades, streamed down his scarred face. I felt them all, he gasped, his damaged lungs struggling without the respirator. Everyone. The younglings, Padme, Obi-Wan, all of them. I did that. I caused all that pain. Yeah, Frank said. You did. I deserve death. Please, end it. Frank looked down at the broken man. You do deserve death. Anakin closed his eyes, accepting. But the word made Anakin look up. I sense something in you the others didn't have. Regret. Real regret. Not fear of what I'd do to you. Not desperation to escape. Genuine remorse for the evil you committed. It changes nothing. I still did those things. No, it doesn't change what you did. But it changes what happens next. Frank stepped back. You got two choices. Die now. Join your victims in whatever comes after. Or live. Spend every day making amends. Fixing what you broke. Saving the people you once terrorized. Anakin stared at him. I don't deserve a second chance. Nobody deserves second chances. That's why they're called chances. You take it or you don't. If I live, the galaxy will hunt me. They should. Probably. Redemption isn't easy. It's harder than dying. That's the point. Anakin was silent for a long moment. His breathing was ragged without the mask. His body was failing. But his eyes were more alive than they'd been in decades. Why? He finally asked. Why spare me when you killed all the others? Because they chose evil until the end. Frank's skull blazed with hellfire, but his voice was almost gentle. Every single one of them. When I offered them judgment, they bargained. Begged. Threatened. Tried to fight their way out. Tried to corrupt me into joining them. He looked down at Anakin. You're different. You chose to face it. Asked for justice instead of mercy. Stood there and took the stare without flinching. For the first time in decades, you made a choice that wasn't about power or fear or the lies Palpatine fed you. The stare. I felt everything, and you accepted it. That's the difference. Palpatine would have screamed that his victims deserved it. Bane would have argued he was making the galaxy stronger. Vitiate would have tried to consume me. But you accepted your guilt. That's the first step. Frank reached down and picked up Vader's fallen helmet. Held it for a moment, studying the black mask that had terrorized a galaxy. Then he crushed it in his fist. Vader's dead. The Sith are extinct. Every lord, every spirit, every teaching burned. You're the last one standing, and you're not even Sith anymore. He let the fragments of the helmet fall to the floor. What's left is Anakin Skywalker, a man who made terrible choices and hurt a lot of people. Question is, what does Anakin Skywalker do now? Anakin struggled to his feet. Without the suit's life support, every breath was agony. But he stood. I have children. Luke, Leia. I hurt them. Used them. Nearly killed them. Yeah, you did. They'll never forgive me. Probably not. Forgiveness isn't your call. It's theirs. All you can do is try to be worthy of it, whether they give it or not. Frank moved toward the viewport. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. The galaxy spread before them, a galaxy that was, for the first time in 10,000 years, free of the Sith's shadow. The Empire's falling apart without Palpatine. Chaos everywhere. Power vacuums. Warlords grabbing for control. Lot of innocent people about to get hurt in the crossfire. I could help stop that, Anakin said slowly. I know the Imperial systems. The military structure, where the weapons are hidden. Where the worst commanders are. You could. Question is, will you? Not for glory. Not for redemption. Just because it's the right thing to do. Anakin was quiet for a long moment. Then he walked painfully, slowly to a cabinet on the chamber's wall. Opened it. Inside was a lightsaber. Not the red blade of Vader, a blue one. Old, damaged, but still functional. Luke's lightsaber, Anakin said. The one I made when I was still a Jedi. He left it on Cloud City. I kept it. Don't know why. Maybe part of you knew this day would come. Anakin held the saber in his mechanical hand. The weight was familiar. The feel of it was like coming home after a very long time away. I'll never be a Jedi again. Too much darkness in me. Too much damage. Don't need to be a Jedi. Just need to be better than you were. Every day. One choice at a time. Frank moved toward the center of the chamber. Cosmic energy began gathering around him, preparing to open another portal. Wait. Anakin stepped toward him. Where will you go? Same place I always go. Wherever cosmic justice is needed. Other galaxies. Other dimensions. Evils everywhere. So am I. Will you ever come back? Frank paused, considered the question. Maybe. If you backslide, if you go back to your old ways, if you decide redemption is too hard and power is easier. His skull blazed brighter. I'll be back. And next time, there won't be a choice. I understand. Good. Frank mounted his cosmic bike, which had materialized beside him. One last thing. What? Don't thank me. I didn't do this for you. Did it for your victims. For the force that called me here. For the trillions who suffered under the Sith for 10,000 years. He revved the cosmic engine. You want to thank me. Earn your survival. Save the galaxy. Protect your kids. Make the pain you caused mean something. The portal opened a swirling vortex of cosmic energy leading to dimensions unknown. Goodbye, Anakin Skywalker. Be better. Frank Castle, the cosmic ghost rider, rode through the portal and vanished. Anakin stood alone in his meditation chamber, holding his old lightsaber, watching the portal close. His suit was destroyed. His body was failing. His life support was gone. But for the first time in over 2 decades, he could breathe. Not physically. That was agony. But spiritually, the weight that had been crushing his soul since Mustafar was lighter. Not gone, it would never be gone, but bearable. Because he had a choice now. A real choice. Not between power and weakness. Not between Jedi and Sith. But between giving up and trying again. Anakin Skywalker ignited the blue lightsaber. Its glow filled the chamber light in a place that had known only darkness. Be better, he repeated to himself. Every day, one choice at a time. He walked out of the meditation chamber, out of the darkness, into whatever came next. Across the galaxy, those sensitive to the Force felt the change. On Dagobah, Yoda's Force ghost emerged from his hut to watch the swamp's perpetual mists. For the first time in 900 years, they seemed lighter, brighter. Balance, he said softly. True balance. Restored it is. At last, Obi-Wan's spirit materialized beside him. I felt it too. The darkness. It's gone. Not just Palpatine. Not just Vader. All of it. The ancient Sith. The Sith eternal. Everything. A weapon. The Force created. From beyond our galaxy, it came. Vengeance incarnate. Justice absolute. And Anakin? Yoda closed his eyes, reaching out through the Force. Alive, he is. Changed. The darkness in him, smaller now. Still there, but no longer consuming. He survived the judgment? Survived, yes. But more than survival, this is a choice he made. The right choice, perhaps. For the first time, in many years, Obi-Wan was quiet for a moment. Can he be redeemed? After everything? Know this. We cannot. His path, that is, his choice, his struggle. The 2 ancient Jedi watched the mists swirl. But possible it is. For the first time in decades, possible. Anakin Skywalker's redemption didn't come easily. The Empire fractured without Palpatine. Moffs became warlords. Admirals became dictators. The galaxy descended into chaos exactly as Frank had predicted. Anakin threw himself into stopping it, not as Vader, not as a Jedi. As something new, a man trying to undo the damage he'd helped create. He provided intelligence to the rebellion, sabotaged Imperial weapons stockpiles, protected civilian populations from the worst of the warlords. When the New Republic captured him, and they did capture him, he didn't resist. He stood trial for his crimes, faced his victims, listened as they described what he'd done to them and their families. He didn't ask for forgiveness, didn't offer excuses, just accepted responsibility and asked how he could help make things right. The tribunal sentenced him to life in service, not imprisonment, but obligation. For as long as he lived, he would help rebuild what he'd destroyed, protect the innocent he'd once terrorized, serve the people he'd once oppressed. Most of the galaxy never forgave him. That was fair. Some things can't be forgiven. But Luke gave him a chance, hesitant, conditional, ready to be revoked at the first sign of darkness. Anakin took it, and Leia, she never forgave him, never could. Not after Alderaan, not after the torture droid, not after everything. But she acknowledged his effort, acknowledged that he was trying, and for now, that was enough. Somewhere beyond the galaxy, in a dimension where time and space meant nothing, Frank Castle rode his cosmic bike through the void. The Sith were gone. The Force was healing. One galaxy, at least, was a little bit cleaner than it had been. But the universe was vast. Evil existed in every corner, every dimension, every timeline, and Frank Castle never stopped. Not while there was evil to burn, not while there were innocent people to avenge, not while the spirit of vengeance still burned in his bones. He felt another dimensional tear opening ahead, another reality crying out for justice, another evil that needed to burn. Always more work, he muttered. Never ends, never will. His skull blazed with cosmic hellfire. Good. The cosmic Ghost Rider rode into the next dimension, ready to deliver justice. The mission never ended. Neither did he.